Hello again, everyone. I'm Jamie Bricker, and welcome to my ongoing series, Affective Leadership. Positivity promotes productivity. In today's session, I'm going to focus on messaging and the importance of having the intent of the message equate very closely with the impact it has across the organization. Now, the first key is for the leader to plan the message carefully. And affective leaders realize that's a case of less is truly more. In other words, keep it succinct, because clearly as the quantity of the message increases, the quality of understanding generally declines. The second key is all about massaging delivery. Want to stress this message I was just referring to is, of course, very important, and it is very important that everyone in the organization receive the same message. And depending on people's relative positions within the organization, the accountability and responsibility from that message is also got to be equally shared. However, the big variable is in how that message is presented to people. Because people, of course, learn differently, process differently, etc. Affective leaders realize this, and they just double check after a message has been delivered to make sure it was received as intended. Now, the third key is what I call really adjusting the unconscious misalignments. In other words, there are people in your organization who have misunderstood or missed entirely a message you recently sent out. They didn't mean to, but it could be just a case of they are procrastinators, a bit disorganized, or despite their best efforts, they're just working hard to kind of keep their head above sea level, as so to speak, when it comes to getting their daily routines done at work. But also, I think it's so important to really acknowledge that, boy, during the pandemic, people's plates they're overflowing before they ever even get to work. Affective leaders recognize this, and they just kind of double check and make sure once again that everyone has received and processed the same message. Now, the fourth key also has to do with misalignments, but this is a very, very different type of disconnection. And this has to do with conscious misalignment. These are people who deliberately have decided to ignore or not respond to a message, even though they very clearly received it and understood it. These people, of course, are making some kind of statement. Now, I want to stress, of course, every leader cannot ignore such behavior, and that, of course, has to be addressed. However, affective leaders realize that before we get to a consequence or anything punitive, they take the extra time and effort and really try to appreciate why this person is feeling so disenfranchised and why they felt compelled to make a statement. And me personally, throughout my leadership career, I found that people who initially seemed like very firmly entrenched malcontents ultimately down the road became some very positive pillars for the entire organization. And the fifth key is all about prioritizing the big ideas. In other words, leaders, we all realize that we send out hundreds of communications a year, both orally and in writing, across the entire organization. So obviously there are going to be some, misunderstandings and misinterpretations and frankly, misalignments throughout the year. But my advice is don't sweat the small stuff or the minutia, but really focus on having the big ideas received clearly by everyone across the organization. And everyone needs to know the kind of outcomes from big decisions, the plans moving forward, and both short-term and long-term, where is the organizational plans and direction going to be? Those are keys. Those have to be clearly understood. And in closing, affective leaders prioritize ensuring that the intent of their message aligns very tightly with its impact across the organization. Because affective leaders realize that any big misalignments can cost the organization both a lot of time and a lot of money.